Welcome to the Minding the Gap podcast. I'm Paul Bakke, licensed counselor of behavioral sciences, alongside Dr. David Barnhart.
Right beside me.
Right up
Right
on top, beside
over there.
something.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about intrusive thoughts today. Give some examples of that. We all have those from time to time. And so let's talk a little bit about the introduction of what intrusive thoughts are.
So associated with OCD, but there are other people have intrusive thoughts. As you said, everybody, well, statistically, 80% of the population has intrusive thoughts of some kind, right? And my comeback on that is the other 20% are lying. So yeah, we have intrusive thoughts, but with OCD, these typically obsessing or having unwelcome, distressing thoughts. Let's start over again. What do you think?
Unwelcome and distressing thoughts or ideas, right?
That's exactly right.
Or images. And then they repeat in our mind. So when someone that doesn't have OCD has an intrusive thought, it might be, a thought of hurting someone or thought of something that's unwelcome. And it's like, why did I think that?
Yeah, just blow it off.
And then you sort of move on. With OCD, it becomes, why did I have that thought? There's this judgment that's, what does that mean? Does that mean that I'm going to do that? It sort of gets stuck in there.
It feels like a threat. It goes against our value system.
Right. Yeah. So the what if machine just sort of starts, so it cranks up and it turns into a compulsion, thinking about it over and over, worrying about it. So a compulsion would be some kind of behavior or act that somebody feels driven to perform, even though they may, and even though they may be seen as senseless or excessive,
unacceptable.
Yeah, and so at times it may be really hard to resist doing them because it feels like it should do that in order to make it go away or make it to neutralize it. Or if I figure it out enough, then it's going to be better.
That's a very important point. So a lot of times people miss the compulsive side. They don't understand the mental compulsion to run through this, to check it, to rehash it over and over again. That's actually a compulsion. It's not always something you physically see, and most often it's something that occurs in the mind.
And it's often very difficult to detect that because it's pretty clear if you've touched something or done something or not done something. You've either avoided something, done something, touched something, not touched something. That's cut and dry. But a thinking compulsion, our mind is always thinking. It's always having thoughts going through it.
Constantly.
So being able to detect a mental compulsion becomes very, it's all part of the internal process. You can't see that.
And people are not talking about it because some of these are very embarrassing to talk about, or that what would people think if they knew that I was having thoughts like this?
Right.
Why don't we go through some examples of self-harm?
Sure.
So there are categories. One of them is self-harm. What if I kill myself? Or it could be even I should kill myself. And that's in contrast with somebody that's actually suicidal. Right. And that's hard for people to understand the difference, but it's an unintended, unwanted, intrusive thought.
I'm afraid that I'm going to, or I'm afraid that I might. And the thought of it makes me upset that I'm having the thought of it, rather than a suicidal thought, which is, this is a good idea. This is the relief. Is suicide is the relief. It's not a relief. to have the intrusive thought. It's, oh my gosh, what if I did that?
Yeah.
You know, and so it could turn into a compulsion of avoiding knives or avoiding anything dangerous because you couldn't trust yourself to be able to do that. In the same way, intrusive thought of harming other people, it might be, I have to stay away from people. I can't be around knives, you know, because I might actually, you know, I might stab someone. And so the compulsion turns from mental to some kind of physical avoidance.
I need to hide the knives. I need to stay away from people. I don't even want to take knives out of the dishwasher because I could cut myself or cut somebody else or stab somebody.
Yeah.
What if I lose control? What if I get up during the night and get a knife and stab my family? I need to hide these so I'm not sleepwalking and do something unintended.
Yeah. And no matter what the avoidance, it's never really enough to quiet this idea, which is part of the process of treatment, which is really goes against a person's nature. Is I'm going to think about these things on purpose. I'm going to hold a knife on purpose. I'm going to put myself in a position where I'm thinking this and feeling this, and it's not going to be pleasant at all. And you know, who wants to do that? Nobody.
Right. And just going through the day, you know, walking along the sidewalk. What if I push someone in front of a car, or I could push somebody, or I should push somebody? You know, intrusive thoughts like that.
Or what if I just jumped out in this traffic? Yeah. And so
I pull that dangling earring right out of that person's ear.
Yeah.
What about did I run over somebody?
Yeah.
I need to go back and check.
Got to go stop, check, get to the parking lot, make sure there's no signs of an accident. And the checking, it's designed to be assurance that it didn't happen, but then it turns into reassurance that I've got to keep doing it. And that's part of the OCD that it's difficult to see, is that there's this feeling that feels like it needs to go down to get relief from, and doing the compulsion, whether it be worry or some kind of mental compulsion or some kind of physical checking, doesn't satisfy it.
Right. And this is hard to comprehend, but the more people check, the more uncertain they become. So the research is very clear on that. You know, I need to make sure. And so I go check and I feel better for a brief period of time, which actually reinforces the tendency to check.
Right.
And increases the importance of the thought so that we were unable to get rid of or quash it or blow it off. And we have to keep checking.
Right.
Pretty debilitating. What about this one, Paul? What if I'm actually a serial killer? I'm having these thoughts. What if that's really me?
Yeah. Yeah, and we find that sometimes there's something connected to that. There may be a movie that someone saw or a news article that you saw, and then it just turns into what if that's me? It could be you know, you're around children and someone's a teacher, and then because they're prone to intrusive thoughts turn into, what if I do something to my students? It usually, you know, it often lives where things are important in this moment in our lives. And it may be about, what if something bad happens to my kids? and the worry becomes checking. You okay? How you doing? Did you make it okay? You know, and part of that is normal parenting. You know, check where your kids are and make sure they're okay and all that. If they're going somewhere, but this repeated, no, I can't. They can't spend the night anywhere. I got to make sure that they're completely safe, and I'm sure that they're safe. It becomes this compulsive thing that's born out of a natural desire to take care of your kids and from them to be healthy.
Exactly.
But it enters where it's important in the moment in life.
So you have a new baby. What if I hurt the baby? What if I drop the baby? What if I leave the baby in the car? What if I forgot to say be careful to my son or daughter when they left the house? I need to check to make sure they're okay. I need to call them and make sure I say, hey, be careful. Otherwise, something bad could happen.
Yeah. So it can really take on a life of its own. And through reinforcement of the thinking and the worrying and the compulsions, it can grow into, if I don't do this, then something bad has happened, and it may not even be connected. I have to do this thing 3 times because for some reason that got connected with my parents not being okay, and some disaster happening. And so this association happens, and someone has to do some kind of ritual, even though the rational side of the brain knows that it doesn't make sense.
There's no magic.
It's not magic, but I just need to do this, because if I don't do it, I'm going to feel really uncomfortable. And that's really a big part of all of this, is that this discomfort that's happening is not something that people typically decide to lean into and feel on purpose.
Right.
Part of human nature is get safe, get comfortable, get back to homeostasis.
Yes. Well, let's talk about sex. Nobody wants to do that, do they?
No.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You know, the last
Right. So it's a taboo subject.
taboo. Yes.
Right. And so that can enter in there. You know, you have a sexual thought about some stranger that you find attractive or whatever,
Or not.
or even not. You know,
Visualizing
it doesn't
somebody
matter.
naked.
Just some kind of
Pops-
intrusive thought that's
pops in
connected to some sexual
Yeah.
Thought, and then it becomes, am I going to do that? I'm a horrible person. And a big part of OCD is this internal dialogue and a natural process of, I've experienced something, I've been triggered to have a thought or and a feeling about this thing, and then it's, what does that mean? Does that mean this? Does that thought, that image, does that mean I'm a pervert? Does that mean I want that? Does that mean, and it could be a dog that sniffs someone's crotch and someone got a sensation from that, because that's human nature to have a tingling sensation, you know, when you're touched there. And then a person with OCD may go, was I attracted to that dog? Did I want the dog to do that to me? And it becomes this, what does that mean? What does that mean? And that's, you know, talk to people about this all the time. When anxiety or this uncomfortable feeling accompanies something that's could be good and it could be bad, could be interpreted as good or bad, or if it's in the future, it's going to be good or bad. Which one does anxiety pick? It picks bad. That means it's bad, even though it just means that, you know, this thing happened. And the other part of that is the sensation that people feel when they have these thoughts. It may be interpreted as pleasurable. And so the mind goes to, that means I wanted that.
Yeah, the brain doesn't care how it gets stimulated. So you could have an intrusive sexual thought, and that could cause you to feel aroused, which then you might interpret as, oh, well, that must mean that I'm a pervert.
Right.
Oh, I need to walk down a different aisle in this store so I avoid the children in this aisle. I don't want to be accused of being a pedophile.
Right. Right. And so in the process of avoiding in the grocery store, someone turns the corner and they see a kid, and they don't want to see a kid. And seeing a kid creates a feeling. And then because there's this already on the edge of your seat, looking for any sign that I'm attracted or that I'm stimulated or aroused, that gets interpreted as that means this. That means that, oh, I was excited. I was stimulated. Right. And so we talk about mindfulness all the time, about how there's so many things going on that we can sense at one time with our senses: hearing, touch, smell, taste, sight, so forth. So, and a lot of times, we don't notice how we feel in a chair, but we feel that. And then when we think about it, we go, oh, I feel my legs against it. I feel my back. But when you're sitting there and talking to someone or doing something else, you don't really notice it.
Right.
Well, when an intrusive thought comes in and it's related to some kind of sensation, all the attention goes to that spot, because I'm trying to guard against feeling that way. And any feeling that may seem like it's stimulation or arousal becomes noticed. Noticed, and not just noticed, but judged as, what does that mean? That must confirm that I'm that way.
So we do a lot of avoidance, avoid looking at people, so don't give the wrong impression. We didn't mention this, but also on the sexual side of things, what is my identity, my gender, my sexual identity, fear of suddenly being some other way than we thought we were, can become an obsession and a compulsion to check. What about religion?
Yeah.
People have
intrusive
thoughts about religion, or?
Sure, absolutely. So someone with religious faith and religious beliefs are important. OCD and intrusive thoughts can come in and question that. Oh, you don't really believe that. Or you just sinned by thinking that, because there's scripture that talks about staying connected to positive thoughts, and then not let your mind go to things that are sinful, which makes sense, in terms of what we do in CBT, and we talk about connecting to thinking that's helpful, that's not harmful, that's helpful. And so it makes sense that you would practice thinking about things that are helpful. But what if you couldn't help this thought? Then someone could go, well, the Bible says I'm supposed to think about helping people and being good and all the fruits of the Spirit, things like that. I'm not supposed to think about these things that are connected to the 7 deadly sins. And so because I'm thinking about that means that I'm a sinner.
However,
and how can you stop yourself from thinking about something?
Things pop into our heads.
Don't think about a pink elephant
now. Try that one.
Don't.
Yeah.
Just get it out of your mind. Do not think about a pink elephant.
So people become very concerned. What if I'm not 100% truthful? Do I need to repeat my prayer because it didn't sound sincere enough. I'm not sure I was paying good attention when I prayed. Maybe I need to do it again. What if I commit an unpardonable sin? Whatever that is.
And we've had people that have really struggled with that. And the debate becomes, what is the unpardonable sin? You know, and then there's a debate about that. And then you find it, and then it's a big compulsion, just determining that. Trying to find it and agreeing upon that can become this compulsion of, if I figure that out, you know, and somehow that's what's going to help me. And but the bottom line is, like we said a minute ago, we cannot help having intrusive thought. They're unwanted. But the first part of that is recognizing that this is what this is.
Right.
I can see this for what it is. It is a thought that I have no interest in pursuing, because it makes me uncomfortable, means that I probably won't do it. And I can practice seeing it that way. And I can even practice thinking about it on purpose and allowing myself to feel that discomfort until the discomfort, I get used to that.
Stops becoming a problem. So yeah, people start avoiding all kinds of things. They stop going to church or worship service because they're afraid they're going to be triggered and have somebody.
Yeah, I'm not religious enough. People are going to see me as a fraud, and I'm not going to be religious. So I don't go to church because it triggers me into thinking that my thoughts are sinful. And, you know, so the thing they need, the community and the spiritual, you know, the spiritual food that we need, you don't get it because you're afraid that you're going to get judged and you're going to get triggered at the place that is supposed to be there to accept you as you are, and so forth.
And you may just curse in a worship service. It may just come out.
Right. I can't go there because I might curse in the worship service, or whatever thing that's the worry is probably the last thing that they'll do, but it feels real.
What about just some miscellaneous things? Self-doubts, mistakes. Well, what about relationships? We see that a good bit, don't we?
Oh yeah, the relationship OCD, that's a rough one. It's, you know, is this person right for me? Am I right for them? Did what they just did what they just did there, did that mean that they love me? Or if they love me, they would have done that. And it's really a never-ending questioning of whether this relationship is right or wrong, or why I got into it. And it's this constant questioning that does not allow a person to really know if it's right.
Can't have the experience. Too busy.
They're so busy thinking about it, they don't allow themselves to experience whatever that is.
What?
And with that, you're talking about anything. You're talking about whatever's happening comes into question. This person really likes me. They like my values. They enjoy being with me. They want to be with me too much. Or if they don't want to be with, if they want to have a little time to themselves, they don't want to be with me enough. You know, it doesn't matter. It's like the OCD takes whatever information is and questions it.
Right.
And tries to decide, what does that mean? Does that mean, and it's the consistent theme of all of this is this search for certainty.
Truly.
That I'm sure that this is right. I'm sure that I'm not going to do this awful thing that I thought. I'm sure that this person is right for me. I'm sure that when they did this, that meant something okay.
What if I commit myself to this and it turns out I've made a mistake?
Right.
Because this isn't the right person for me.
Yep.
Should I commit? Or if I do, am I settling? Heard that
Am I
one.
settling? Am I just doing this because this is what people are supposed to do in life? Am I just doing this because my religion says that I should do this? There's any number of questions, but the questions are searching for certainty that's impossible to find. And the questions don't allow the experience so that someone will make the decision that best fits them.
Well, there are a whole bunch of things. Did I check the door locks? Did I remember to turn off the stove? Did I leave the curling iron on? We've, people usually think about contamination and that kind of thing, and we've really saved that one till the last. We should, this is what people often think about, but we saved it for the last because people need to know about all of those other things and understand that there's no such thing as being a little OCD. That's not, OCD is not an adjective,
Yeah.
It's a disorder. So
it's a disorder that affects someone's lives in a big way and is excessive. It's not being particular.
That's a very good discrimination. It's not just that you're a little particular about how this is organized. So what about it? So we do germs, that was a big deal. COVID times probably created a lot of natural, proclivity to avoid people and we didn't know how it was transmitted. So we were washing groceries and all kinds of things during that time. The people that we treated for OCD actually were not in too bad a shape in terms of following a protocol. Don't do more than follow the protocol. And if you're doing the protocol, that's enough. We don't have to do more. You don't have to repeat it. But to go down the contamination thing, what if my hands have germs on them? What if I touch the water faucet in the public bathroom? Do I need to wash my hands in a particular way? Do I need to repeat it many times in order to be okay? Am I going to contaminate somebody else?
Yep.
Did I accidentally touch the door handle of the bathroom when I left? So now I need to use hand sanitizer so I don't make somebody sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've had someone tell me that certain items, like that door handle to the band room, I can't touch that because so many people have touched it. But this other door handle, that's okay. And this thing is okay and this is not. And it's really not based on any kind of rational. It's just, oh, that one's okay, this one's okay, this one's not. There's this irrational logic that surrounds it. And that's how it works. It's sometimes it's just sort of random. And this thing just makes me feel this way.
Yeah.
And it gets connected, right? So
right. Just association.
Somehow it just gets associated with this, and then it gets stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And so the business of getting it unstuck is first recognizing it, and then the practice of exposure and response prevention.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, now I got another one. So social thing about social media and how how that is now. We have access to things. It's important to get yourself out there. You put a message out there. It can get planted on you forever. That when this person was 16 years old, they said this, and that means they're racist or whatever that is that they're. And so with social changes and more social awareness, that's good, that we should, that it's a good progressive thing to be able to go, I need to respect people that are different from me, and I need to think about how I talk and the language that I use, because it may unintentionally be offensive to them. And so I need to be mindful of that.
Mhm.
But because there's such a highlight to that, then someone could go, well, I don't know what to say. I can't, are they going to take that as negative? Are they going to interpret this? So I can't decide what to say when I need to post something or say something, because I need to make sure that it doesn't offend anybody, because OCD just takes that societal thing that's happening right now and just runs with it and says, you need to worry about that, even though you really have no intention to do that. And you are doing what you're supposed to be doing in terms of being mindful of it. The OCD wants certainty and will create these rules that are impossible to follow.
Right. Yes. Take up our time. And so we don't get to enjoy the valued activities that we really are here to be able to take advantage of.
Right.
Okay.
Well, those are some examples. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we probably got 200 others that we could give, but I think we got a good sampling in there.
Yeah. Bottom line is they can show up anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and they just somehow get associated, and it just happens. So first part of that is just being able to kind of recognize that this is happening, and that there's some method of being able to respond to it and manage it that does work.
Right. Right. You do not have a character flaw just because you have these intrusive thoughts.
Right.
So that's a good thing to be able to recognize.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the way the brain works.
It's a brain thing.
It's a brain thing, and I can practice using my brain to combat that.
Yes.
In ways that help. And typically the ways that your brain initially says to deal with it doesn't, which is worry and get into the compulsions. All right. That'll do it for us.
Yeah, I think we did it.
So that's an introduction to intrusive thoughts and plenty of examples. If you have them, if you know anybody that struggles with those, no shame in it.
No shame.
We just encourage you to get some help.
Yes.